get some tea. This is gonna be a long video about where the F I've been in the past 2 months and the title of this video, so it's gonna be a little heavy, so grab your tea. I got this mug for $9 freaking and I still think about the fact that I spent $9 on this mug. It's a really great mug, but the dam wrote me into buying this mug. Does it make the tea taste better? No, but whatever, it's cute, right? Alrighty, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been about 2 months since I last made a video, and I do want to say that the past 2 months have been kind of crazy for me as far as just going through a lot. I really do feel like when I was first making this YouTube channel, I was being very overzealous, and I think my intention in making the YouTube channel wasn't as intentional as I wanted it to be. I really do feel like I was trying to be something that I wasn't, and I put a lot of like pressure on myself to like produce a ton of videos and stuff like that, and my desire to make videos just kind of like dissipated because I was like, why do I feel like a machine, right? Like I just kind of dropped off the YouTube sphere to kind of like live my life and really think about when I'd be ready to come back and make content to share with everyone. So here I am with this video. And oh yeah, here's my shirt, by the way, because it is Pride Month, and I also wanted to plug the history of Pride Month and how it was started by a black trans woman and how that came to be. Just want to honor the fact that black trans folks were the one that started the civil rights movement for queer folks, and as someone who is also part of the queer community, I really wanted to show some love and support and solidarity. Yeah, put that in the description below. So me living in this constant state of fear in all of my relationships, and why my relationships have failed in some ways, partly due to that fact. So some background on me: I am diagnosed with PTSD, and having PTSD means that you are constantly in a state of hypervigilance, and so you're always, you know, waiting for the ball to drop, to something to trigger you again. And the reason that I got diagnosed from this was honestly from my experiences growing up in my family and just having a very tumultuous family background, and it led me to be in this constant state of hypervigilance. Just some more background, like my mom and I didn't really have a great relationship whatsoever. I'm pretty sure my mom has some undiagnosed mental illness, and some of folks out there who understand, you know, growing up in a Vietnamese family where you're a child of war refugees, that comes with a lot of baggage and usually a lot of unaddressed trauma, especially if they've never received help for the fact that they literally have gone through years of colonization and war, which I firmly believe takes a toll on the mental well-being. And there was even like this genetic study about how intergenerational trauma could stretch back from like, you know, back to like my grandparents, and how that, you know, infiltrates my DNA in some way too. And I kind of will plug the study of that to you below, and I'll, you know, I don't want to go further into detail about the scientific reasoning about intergenerational trauma and stuff like that, but knowing that that really led to a lot of, you know, stuff being carried on to me, even though my mom was not aware of it. And so we had this very tumultuous relationship where, you know, I would come home from school and I didn't know whether she was going to be in a good mood or not. You know, it put me in this state of being hyper aware of her own moods, and as a result, I've developed this survival tactic of reading people's facial expressions, their body language, their tone, to make sure that I won't make people angry, just because that's what I had to do when I was growing up, so I wouldn't be in harm's way. So yeah, I would go home and I was like, all right, is she in a good mood? I don't know if she's in a good mood. She's not in a good mood. All right, let's bounce, get out of here, because I don't know how she's gonna react to me or how she would treat me that day. And as a result of that, I carried on to this fear into my romantic relationships. I really do feel like I, you know, developed this people-pleasing tendency, and just looking at it from like a trauma-informed background, it was because me being unable to separate the fact that people's emotions are not my responsibility, And I felt like it was my responsibility to always take care of other people and make them feel safe and happy, even though I may be feeling safe and unhappy inside. And just knowing that, it just led to me feeling constantly afraid in these relationships, and it led to a barrier, I guess, like in connecting with these partners. And even as I'm saying this, I'm like shaking because, like, you know, talking about this stuff is extremely difficult for me, and being really honest about how much this mental illness affects me and how trauma really does show up in relationships, even though you've been doing the work for the past couple years. And so what happens is, like, you know, when I'm in this, unknowingly in this state, at least in my first relationships, I didn't even know this was going on until I became more aware of my trauma, you know, of working on my mental illness for the past, like, year or so. It would show up in different ways. Like, you know, I would feel a sense of shame whenever my partners were mad at me or disappointed in me, which they had every valid reason to feel that way, because maybe I've done something that hurt their feelings, but I felt this sense of, like, responsibility that I had to care for them, and that I felt bad. Like, I felt like I was a bad person. I felt like I was a bad girlfriend. And that kind of played back to when I was younger, and when I would do things as a child and my mom would tell me that I was being bad. You know, I was a bad kid if I didn't respond in the way that she wanted. And so she would punish me for, you know, not responding the way that that she wanted. And could it be like, you know, when I was a kid, let's say, like, I was riding my, like, ripstick around a little, there's like a board with like 2 wheels, and I accidentally rolled over my mom's foot, and she just got super angry. She's like, why are you so fucking stupid? Why do you do that? You're so dumb. You need to watch where you're going. And it was totally an accident, and that memory is still in my brain because the switch just, like, flipped off in her head, and it made me scared of her. And, you know, again, like, when these people who've experienced such severe trauma, they don't know how to react to uncertain environments. I realized whenever I would do something that my mom felt like she had no control over, she would flip a switch and freak out and lash out and be angry. And for me as a child, I didn't understand what was happening. I was an innocent child. Like, all I wanted was love and attention, and I wanted to play. But, you know, when you get these programmings in your brain that, oh, I need to do things to please my caregiver, which was my mother, it just started, you know, this programming in my brain that I need to do the same thing in my relationships. And I guess understanding that, it just has been really difficult for me to be in these relationships, because inevitably when you're in a very deeply emotionally intimate relationship, they will trigger you, and you'll be taken to that place again of fear. That's what it was. The root of it was this deep sense of fear that I was hurting somebody. And actually, it happened a little bit earlier today, where my roommate actually came to my door and she asked me for eggs, and I said, no, I don't have any eggs. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I apologized. I know the reason I apologized was I was scared that I was disappointing her. And it's just really difficult how it shows up now in my adult life. You know, I don't live at home anymore. I'm away from my mother, but it is a constant day-to-day process of reminding myself, my inner child, that she's safe now, and she no longer needs to react from this skill that she's inherited to keep herself safe when she was very young. And I think it's really fascinating because, like, growing up, I didn't really enjoy being home because my home was such an unsafe environment, and I picked up, like, all these hobbies, like sports and stuff, like biking, and I was in track and all these things. And in those moments in which I was able to move and engage my body, I felt so connected to myself and my inner source, and I felt like I had a sense of control over me, even though I felt like there's no control in my external environment at home. And I think that's been one of the healthiest coping mechanisms I picked up, is like fitness, for example, from that. But in those moments, I felt so free. Like, my inner child can just be herself, make mistakes, be human. And when you grow up in this environment where you weren't allowed to be human, it's incredibly difficult. And so now a lot of my journey is allowing myself to make mistakes, to even hurt people, though not intentionally, but not take it so personally to the point where I'm beating myself up for it. And I told myself in this year that I will no longer do things just for the sake of other people if it means sacrificing myself. And that's where, you know, setting up boundaries are really important, and, you know, having emotional literacy, you know, tapping into how you feel in the moment. But yeah, it's just like living in this constant state of fear, you know, having PTSD, having anxiety, and having depression as a result of some very real trauma that you've experienced is like a day in, day out process of unlearning. And yeah, and I really want to be honest and share that journey to the folks out there who may resonate, and I'm still shaking, who may relate, who also maybe even Vietnamese, who know what it's like to grow up with parents who have a lot of unaddressed trauma from their backgrounds. Obviously, everyone within the Vietnamese community has a totally different experience. You know, not one person has the same family dynamic, whatever. But yeah, this group environment that was just so like you're walking on eggshells all the time. And I remember, like, it's funny because, you know, there wasn't, the only time that there would be loud fights was always between my mom and I. As I got older, I kind of would speak up for myself, and that was when we were like fighting, but the fights were never resolved, like I mentioned in my first video, and I feared conflict as a result of it because I never saw conflict being healthily resolved. Like, I just saw it as like two people being triggered and not being present with each other and coming from this place of like hurt and not really seeing each other in that moment, in our humanity, and looking each other in the eyes and being like, oh wait, like we're coming from a place of hurt, can we just sit and connect and talk this out so we both feel safe and validated. I just always saw conflict as a war zone, and as a result of that, I know now whenever at least my recent partner, whenever he would express how he'd feel, whenever he expressed how he'd feel, I felt the sense of like anger, you know, like I felt, because I grew up the way I did, I wasn't allowed to express how I'd feel, so I'd shut him down and reject it. I'm like, no, you're not allowed to express how you feel toward me because I'm going to take it personally because I feel responsibility to make you feel better, and I do not have the capacity to do that right now. And I know the reason was because I'm still working on holding space for that really hurt, wounded inner child and her own feelings, and so having to hold space for someone else was just incredibly difficult for me to do. And so understanding all of that, it is really such a journey, and, you know, recognizing, you know, the first step is like recognizing that you even struggle with this, and then from then you can really envision a future of healing from there and forward. But yeah, that's the reality of why my relationships have also failed, not only from a growth fixed mindset, from also some really deep-seated trauma as well. And I really want to make a future video about, you know, the dynamic of, you know, how that influentially influenced my CPTSD, which is complex PTSD, and how it's led me to what I have now, and like my process of really deeply diving into it. But I really want to connect it to me and how it's shaped how I feel toward intimacy, because it really has been, at least in the past year, I really unpacked so much stuff as it pertains to intimacy, what it really means to be intimate with somebody. And I actually read this really great quote that I actually want to put up to end out this video. And it says, "Any way in which you reject yourself prevents you from being able to fully connect with another human being." And then I realized in my previous relationship, in those moments where he was expressing himself to me, I pushed down because I think a deep part of me felt like I couldn't do that for myself. I couldn't hold space for the deepest parts of me, my inner child reaching out. And so when someone expressed that to me, I didn't know what to do with it. It made me feel uncomfortable. And I know now, like, when I feel uncomfortable, it is something that is, I am uncomfortable with myself. And yeah. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I know this video is really, really heavy, but I really wanted to be honest about my journey and why even I've disappeared for the past 2 months, and just really living with mental illness and how debilitating it can be. And I very much do see it as disability, and I hope to continually share my journey with y'all. So I don't know if any folks relate, but, you know, if any of y'all do relate or have any insights or, you know, have any perspective, I would love to engage with it in the comments below. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.